Welcome to episode 2 of our video series here on letsbackflip.com. Or I guess you could be on YouTube or your phone or somewhere else like iTunes. Welcome. Anyway, today John is writing about content marketing, what it is, why it's important, and how content and / creative marketing is different than digital marketing. And what do you do here?
I'm a creative director at Backflip. I also do a lot of producing. And then I also do some editing, and there's just so many different things. It's a multiple hat thing. I challenged Madalena with this question earlier, and realized that I'm also failing at answering it. So anyway, but yeah, I do a lot of creative work. So I guess that's why I'm tasked with this topic.
Great. I'm Ryan Fring, another creative director here. John and I actually founded Backflip, and we have Madalena Zimmerman here.
Sorry, my hair.
Digital, yeah. No, that's great. You look really, really great. Look right into that camera. That camera will know.
Perfect.
Digital strategist and producer. Yeah, John, so you wrote about this topic, or will have written about this topic. And we've talked about content marketing a lot. People would come to us with just here's a thing, do the thing, here's my creative, do the creative. And we're happy to do that type of thing. But we really seem to be able to succeed for our client and for ourselves when we're able to partner with them and really work on that content together. So talk a little bit about that. What is content marketing?
Sure. Well, maybe I can start kind of with an example about where marketing used to be way back. Just thinking like the 60s or 70s, like TV, kind of what those programs.
Don Draper?
Whatever. I'm thinking more like we come off of a program, you're watching Leave It to Beaver, and then you get that moment. This show is sponsored by such and such soap. Let me tell you why this is the greatest soap to use in your dishwasher. I don't know if they had dishwashers back then, but basically, so that's what advertising was a long time ago. And people just said, oh yeah, that's great because that actress told me that soap is great, then that's why I should use that soap.
And let's clarify too, that would be like Lucille Ball in a show. That would be the actress or the actor in a show doing a commercial right after the show or during the show.
Yeah. So we've got that going on. And then the next sort of phase, I don't have all these, micro levels of how things advance, but basically then we have more the advertising that we've been used to for the last 10 years or something, where we've got commercials that are advertising a product to you. They're telling you about some features and things like that. Some of the commercials are more creative, some of them are less creative, but anyway, we still have this, like, I interrupt this program to bring you this commercial. So out comes this commercial. Well, one of the reasons that content marketing is becoming more important is because, how many people are still watching commercials? People, like, everybody has like ad blockers, or they have DVRs and they're skipping commercials.
Right, or you're watching it on Hulu or Netflix, and there's not even commercials in there.
Yeah. So the modern audience is choosing the content they want to consume. And so the idea behind the content marketing philosophy is that you want to create something that people actually care about and create something that people are going to search for, or maybe if they don't search for it, maybe somebody else who did see it through some advertising, sort of traditional advertising dollars, but somebody saw that and that connected with them enough that they actually shared that to the next level. So it's content marketing is specifically about choosing your content and your creative to reach your viewers, your audience, your client base, and thinking about what they care about and what's important to them. And at surface level, I don't want to say this the wrong way, but at surface level, it might not be your product. It might not be your company, but there's always an angle. There's a reason that people, choose your product. And, I'm kind of losing that, but basically, we want to write, and be creative and connect with people on a deeper level, a more emotional level. And the difference between the content and creative marketing and the digital marketing, because that's the the difference between creative content marketing and digital marketing as a comparison is that digital marketing is more the plan that you put in place. It's more how often should we be releasing these items, and what channels should we put them in, and what kind of ad dollars should we put behind them. But that sort of gets too far ahead if you haven't first thought about what am I even saying? What's the content behind this?
Yeah, that's a really good point. Digital marketing versus content marketing. There are a lot of agencies out there who sell digital marketing, and they do more than that. But part of what we're approaching when we look at this field or this product is that top level content marketing, that creative marketing, is what is really going to make things effective. And then digital marketing are some of the tools that we can use, right? So like you said, the plan or the execution on an ad spend on Facebook or blog posts, or, this is digital marketing, what we're doing here. This is a video product, it's a podcast, it's a blog, and it's on a schedule, and we're going to release it. But it has a very strong creative content marketing in that we're working to figure out what are unique topics for people in the industry, for people who need creative services, potential clients or just other groups like that. And we're doing all that creative, and that's what makes this unique, because you could just post or you could just buy ads and put commercials out there. But like you said in the beginning, times constantly are changing, and maybe it was, I don't know, what's the deodorant? Old Spice. I can't remember if it was Old Spice that really kind of got commercials, like, how do you say that? Television commercials, because now commercials are everywhere, right? But television commercials kind of out of that rut from the 90s where it seemed to be maybe an extrapolation of that marketing of like, and that's why we choose Campbell's soup, which I feel like continued for a very long time until, and maybe it was Old Spice, maybe it was Super Bowls becoming such a competitive time frame that people had to do something interesting. Well, how do you do that? Do some content marketing, come up with a creative idea, and your product is told about in there in some way, because it's all got to go back to those dollars and that ROI. But what's the unique thing? It's that creative piece, that content piece. And I think the challenge is, how do we make that relevant to our other efforts? How do we make that successful for our business? And sometimes it's a long game. People need to think about us in a different way. That doesn't mean that they're going to buy more hamburgers necessarily right away, but they're going to think differently about us. What is, let's see, Coca-Cola sell? Happiness, right? They also sell Coke. They sell a soda that makes people obese.
Yeah.
But it's about happiness and togetherness.
Well, and okay, so let's think about this. What's the last commercial that you have seen that you remember?
It can be anywhere.
What? I don't watch TV.
So case in point, there's already like, so how do you reach Madalena?
I'm trying to, usually if I stream stuff, but then again, if there's any sort of commercial, I'm out of the room. But on YouTube, I'm just trying to think YouTube videos.
Yeah, you can't get away from those ads.
Yeah. Or anything that you've sought out, so this is a little bit of a shot in the dark because I didn't ask you about this ahead of time or prep you with this, but what's your feeling about Dove products?
That it's empowering to women.
Yeah. So, and why do you have that feeling?
All their commercials are around being a woman, and Dove caters to any type of woman, and it's okay. It's not you don't have to be a 5 or a supermodel. But yeah, maybe there's just that that's that lasting impression.
Yeah, and I guess that's what I'm trying to get at is with this style of marketing, they're not saying well, maybe they are saying this, but it doesn't really matter that much about, does this soap clear
Right.
like off the oil on your skin a little bit better than the other one, or what are the exact ingredients and the ratio of things. No, they've said, what's our mission statement as a company? What do we really care about, and what do we want to communicate? They also have the Dove Real Beauty videos, which I remember seeing, where
They're
they would
sketching.
have the sketch artists bringing in women and having them describe themselves. Is that how it went?
Yeah, they had someone describe them and then them describing themselves. So
And they
there's
compared
two.
the photos.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. And
With the drawings.
Yeah.
so now let's think about that in terms of like traditional advertising dollars and
Yeah.
like,
What's my ROI?
and also think about this. What's the call to action?
Yeah.
Do we have a call to, like, at the end of those?
Which, to be fair, we're not poo-pooing ROI.
Yeah.
We're not poo-pooing call to action. But we're putting what's more important first. We're talking about what's
This
more
is a
important
content
first.
marketing discussion.
Yeah.
And we will say our things. So anyway, they don't, at the end, it's not like, all right, what's the call to action? Like, go to dove.com right now and order your bar of soap today.
Right.
No, they just said, this is who we are. And this is what we're putting out as like a brand, brand identity and what we care about, what we want you to feel. And that's what drives consumers to make decisions, is what they feel. We know this from Apple too. Why do you have a iPhone instead of an Android or a Windows phone even? Windows phone.
Because they don't make Windows phones anymore. Oh, trick question.
Hashtag, I'm not current.
Hashtag old.
Yep.
But why do you have Apple products?
I mean, I think it's just by constantly like being surrounded by, like, if you don't have Apple, you are not trendy and not up to date and tech savvy.
Yeah, and none of that has anything to do with how fast the processor is or what's the resolution of the camera. Yes, they say they bring out some of those things, and you need to figure out how you combine all of that into your marketing plan. But that main message that they're putting out there is like, we're really trendy, we're really cool, and then people are feeling something from that. Now they're doing it in that more traditional advertising space, and so maybe that's a good example of where the commercials can still make sense. But another thought here is with content marketing is, if you're a smaller company and you don't have the budget to flood the market with your commercials and your messaging, then your likelihood of people seeing it goes down, because you don't. And so then what do you need to create when you create one promo video? You need, there's opportunities to be creative, and that's what we try to push.
And it's got to be shareable, right? So maybe that's a big difference too. When you have 5 networks or 4 networks, and that's basically something every American will see, one of those maybe top 3 channels. Commercials are of like the top way of communicating to the country, right? Fast forward, 70 years, it's a very different landscape where you're mostly on your phone, right? Even when you're watching a show, you're on your phone. You're going to be on Facebook or YouTube or Twitter or some social network. So content's got to be there. Commercials, like Madalena said, I don't watch commercials. I leave the room if I'm stuck watching something. When was the last time you watched a commercial? Your answer was like,
I don't even know.
yeah, I don't even know.
Yeah.
Except like maybe here when we're like, oh, check out this cool commercial, because that's what we do. But how do you reach those people? Well, we want to go where they are. So there's that digital marketing component. But if something's not shareable, if something's not great, then it's not going to reach. You're not going to be. Nobody's going to have enough money to have that go really far. Music videos are a good example where they spend X amount to produce them, but then if they hit on something that's some strong chord or theme in the country at the time, then they can go to 1.2 billion views, which is insane.
That's that 1-800 song by I forgot his name. It's the title of it is the number to call if you're like suicidal. And so his whole thing was like, depression in teens is huge, and he suffered with it. And so he's like, as an artist and with my platform, like, I should make music that doesn't say, the N-word every other song or every other, word. And this song was so powerful. It did go viral, and he was on Ellen and stuff for it. But there's also then this whole authenticity in the content as well, because he had suffered through it and stuff. It wasn't just like, I'm going to do this because I can, but it was because I suffer and like I want to be a voice for those who do. And I don't know, that was a good example.
Yeah. Well, and then the other thought of how do you spread this? How do you find your audience? I was thinking about, sometimes we do have clients that are, concerned about how do we, that's all great. I'm making this content and people are sharing it, but then are those people that they're sharing it to, do they care about our product or our service or our offering? Because they're just sharing it because they like this video, because it's kind of cool or whatever. And I guess I would challenge people who have that question that it doesn't really matter. Like, you need to, like Ryan was saying, it's got to be shareable, because you might hit your audience, but your audience might not be sitting somewhere where you're hoping they where you're
ready to purchase,
right. And so you need to get that out in front of somebody. And then I've shared a video with Madalena that she thinks is awesome, and then she shares it with somebody else, and a couple shares down the line I hit somebody who's actually looking for that service. But would I have gotten to them without that sharing, without some of that? I mean, I don't want to use we don't want to talk about politics, but the example of, what do they call it?
Gerrymandering.
No. The term for the free media that they get.
Oh,
remember they like talk about like that the ad dollars or something, that you get by the news talking about you or whatever. Well, that kind of exists. That kind of exists in the marketing world too, where you just want to maximize what your ad dollars are. You're going to spend some, but it's not going to go beyond that if it's not shareable and if people don't care about it. If it's very specific to the product, you might get some people saying, "Oh, hey, Madalena, you were looking for a phone like this the other day, and I just saw this one come up on my feed."
Yeah,
and
by the way, the internet, creepy.
Yeah, but beyond that, then it's not going to get shared beyond, that, where it's people are.
Yeah, and there's that old adage, right?
Let
me see if I can get that. At least you made like a sentence, like you end, which
that's
I
how
don't
I end
sometimes.
sentences.
That's how we know you're done.
Signifies, yeah.
Somebody's like, "Is he gonna throw up?" No. That's how he says period at the end of a sentence. There's that old adage. No one will care what you know until they know that you care, right? And that's maybe at the heart of what we're talking about. If all we're focused on is how do I get more money? How do I make this sale? How do I make this product more appealing? Then the flip side of that is you're pushing your marketing onto somebody and they don't want to receive it. Whereas if you can think more about your goals in your organization in a more, holistic way of like, what do we think? What do we support? How do we feel? How do we want other people to feel about us? Apple has that. Google now has that. They transitioned from like after the what was it?
Well, they would do
like Ninja, like
they would do the spec based advertising. This Android has the the fastest NVIDIA processor, and all the latest like features. And that's not connecting with people in the same way that the ad with the dad and his kid in the backyard looking at the stars does. That makes you feel like, oh, I want that experience with my kid, and it has nothing to do with the phone.
But it does in the sense that there's, the values that we support, right? So they finally went from, we're the coolest, fastest, technical, they had that one of the going in the backyard and doing AR and the Raptor. And I saw that and I was like, oh yeah. That was the first time I felt really good about Google. And I think that was maybe when they started producing their own hardware. They did an analysis and said, hey, people want to feel something. People, once they, know that we care, then they'll care what we know. And then we can feed them the specs and okay, we can sell them on specs, but it's that first step. And that's where content marketing is so important, and that creative marketing, and that then is supported by digital marketing. And that's, I hope that's clear. Maybe that'll be more clear
You're
in the
gonna-
blog post why
yeah.
that's separate.
Yeah, and maybe another thought is that you're going to make an emotional decision and have an emotional connection, and then you're going to check the specs to make sure that it's what you need. But you're not going to get to that second step unless you've made that emotional connection. So the features is something that's important, but it can be communicated in many other ways, and that's not what advertising is for. Unless you're groundbreaking.
So there's this interesting, so the Coca-Cola ad. So we were talking about how Coca-Cola, they want to their thing is happiness and friendship and having fun. And so I don't know if you guys saw the ad. It was kind of still is during the whole Black Lives Matter sort of scenarios, police brutality. And so what they had, the commercial is around what?
Is it
With Kendall Jenner?
Yes.
And so that was poor content marketing because they
Right.
stick a public figure who's never once on any of her social media platforms talked positively about it or wanted change. And so they got all this backlash because they're she's not even a figure for Black Lives Matter and all this campaigning. And so there's no authenticity, and it showed that Coca-Cola was just this is to make money, not to actually help produce change. And then, so they pulled that advertisement, and then a few weeks later.
Also, it's fireman comes out, let's give, or the police in the line, you know what it's
yeah.
going to take? Coca-Cola.
Right. It's
so on the
she
nose.
so she hands to all these fighters, here, try a Coke, it'll solve all your problems, which is horrible messaging as well.
Yeah.
And so, so they pulled the ad after all this, Twitter stuff. And then Heineken came out with a really cool ad, which I did share on my Facebook page a while back. And it was around the same issues and more issues, but it successfully, around their brand of Heineken, successfully told these stories and basically it proved that people through their differences and their religious beliefs and their political beliefs that they can be friends and they can have a conversation over a beer. And it was a very powerful message. And now I drink Heineken because just remembering those stories. So those are two strikingly different. I mean, they're trying to tell the same story around their brand, but one completely missed it, and one nailed it, because there was also you could relate to one of those people that they pulled in the Heineken, whereas I can't relate to Kendall Jenner.
I know, right?
Yeah.
At all.
Yeah, and what's the difference in terms of the content or the style or any of that? Not much, but the core and the goal, and how it was. Composed together, that was drastically different. And just that, made something memorable versus despicable.
Right, yeah. So, interesting case study.
So
We solved it.
content marketing. I mean, that's
Yeah.
And I think it takes a little. I don't know. It maybe takes guts. The clients are concerned.
I think it
about,
takes a lot of guts because how do you measure ROI?
Yeah, it's an area where it's hard to say, well, we give this example, commercials to burgers sold, and you got to be McDonald's to get those kind of numbers, because you need a data set that's large enough that you can pull. We can track some things. We track a lot, and we can see that people are engaging with your media. We can see that people are sharing it. And then when the way that converts to sales and people through the door, well, there's a step in there that is where your company then needs to deliver.
Right.
They're gonna have their attention turned to you, and then you kind of have that next opportunity in the conversation, which leads us into more digital marketing and when those touches come, and when a month later we're going to release this, and then a month after that we're going to do this. So keeping that conversation going, but there's a whole plan, and sometimes it takes some guts, it takes some patience, but I also tell people all the time that we can't tell you if something's going to go viral, that it's going to be shared on that level as these billions of
Except that one
views.
time we made that video, what was that?
Except for that one time.
Gangnam Style?
Oh yeah.
That was
good.
pretty viral.
But I can't tell you, I can't guarantee something's going to go viral, but you can usually guarantee something's not going to go viral. And so playing it safe is not playing it safe in this industry.
Yeah, absolutely. So we should wrap it up right there. That's a really good point. We'll have a lot of these, like those 2 commercials and other things, posted in the blog, so you can take a look there. That's it. Any other closing thoughts about content marketing before we leave and finish episode 2?
Boom, do it.
Boom. That's it. Thanks for tuning in. See you next week.
Bye.